All right, hello again. Welcome back to another episode of TwinStick Garage. Thanks for joining me on this episode on what seems like a never-ending restoration on my 359 Peterbilt. I've got some big plans today for this truck, but before I get into that, I thought I'd give you a quick update on what I'm working on over on this side of the shop. So, been doing some work on the Iron Duke. Recently, my buddy Blake helped me do some body work and some rebuild some panels on the cab of the truck. As you can see, I've been doing some work here on the back end, trying to rebuild everything and get it ready for the road. I threw the fifth wheel plate that my buddy Dallas gave me last year on there, and still a lot of work to do on this, but you know, every little bit of progress is progress. If you want to see the videos of me actually working on this, go check out my Patreon. Links down below. The Trans Am, I've got the 400 cubic inch engine, the 6.6 liter block. This block has a date with Butler Performance down in Tennessee, so this thing's going to go on a trip in the very near future, and hoping to get, with my help from the guys at Butler, hoping to get at least 500 horsepower and maybe 600 foot-pounds of torque out of this. So this car is going to be a monster when I finally get it together. But today, as I was saying, I'm going to do some work on the 359 Peterbilt. So if you've been watching some of the previous episodes, you know, been doing a lot of work on this big hole conversion. I got the new cab corners in. I'm actually going to get some new door skins from truck shrouds and drill out all these buck bolts. And Blake's going to help me actually pinch the new bolts on there, and we're going to redo the skins of the door. But I was actually thinking, now, for those that don't know, this is a hobby of mine. This is a weekly kind of Saturday work on the trucks, work on the car. I have a day job during the week, so that's why these restorations take years, because I only get one day a week to actually make some progress on them. But during the week, I actually think about what I'm going to work on the upcoming Saturday. And this past week, I was thinking about the 6-speed transmission. So, of course, TwinStick Garage started with this truck, pulled it out of a field. And the reason I called it TwinStick Garage is because this truck, my dream truck, has two sticks, twin sticks. It's got a 6-speed transmission that's mated to the Caterpillar diesel engine, and then it's got a 4-speed auxiliary that's back underneath the bunk there. And that's why it's got a 6 and a 4. So 2 transmissions, 2 sticks, TwinStick Garage. Now, what was it, last year? I actually pulled out the 4-speed transmission, which is right up there. I pulled that out of there and I took it to my buddies at the Gear Center, and they tore it down and rebuilt it and made it all tip-top. But the 6-speed is still original. And when I was actually driving this truck, soon after its first restoration, I guess this would be the second, I noticed that sometimes it would fall out of gear. So I'd have it in gear, and then as soon as I'd let my foot off the gas, it would just kind of dance out of gear. Stay in there. And that kind of got annoying, because it's tricky enough to drive this truck with 2 transmissions, but not having this thing dance out of gear. So I thought that's one thing. I believe it's just there's dogs that actually hold it in place in gear, and they're obviously worn out. This truck's got a lot of miles on, a lot of drivers. So it's a small component, but it actually, in order to get those replaced, you got to get the transmission out of there. And then I thought, well, since the cab is apart, it wouldn't take a lot to pull the floor out, and then that would actually make it easier to get at the top bolts on the transmission and get it out of there. So it's a perfect opportunity to take the 6-speed out, take it to the Gear Center, get them to give it a once-over, because you can't find these 6-speed spicers anymore. They're pretty, they're as rare as hen's teeth, and I would not want this one to blow up on me and have to put like a 10 or a 13 in there, because it's not as cool once you put a modern transmission in the front and you got all the gears. You don't really need the 4-speed anymore. It's not, like I say, not as cool. So the goal today is going to try and get this 6-speed out of here. It's not going to be the easiest thing. I mean, obviously if I lift the floor, it'll give more access, so that'll make it easier. I will use my transmission jack to support it from the bottom. I'm thinking, in order to get access to get the transmission out of there, because it's pretty large, I'm going to take off the battery box and the toolbox on the other side. And the main reason for that is because these have to go anyway. I'm replacing them with these brand new stainless ones I got from Daryl Bager at Bager Industries in Manitoba. So I'll put those on eventually once the truck's painted. And yeah, see how far I get. But again, the goal is going to be to get that 6-speed out of there and get it on the way to the gear center. Oh, kudos to Noiko for making a quality product. Oh man, this stuff, once it sticks on there and I guess cures, it is darn near impossible to get off. So, I mean, obviously I'm using the air hammer here just to try and chisel away, because this stuff, I mean, it won't even lift. I mean, it's perfect for sound deadening, but when you got to unring the bell, it's quite a mess. So what I'll do is I'll keep chipping away, trying to lift this stuff up around the edge so I can get to all the screws, and then I can lift this board out, and I'll just make a new piece of plywood and then put new Noiko down when I redo all this. But man, oh man, that's sure in there. All right, one forward floor section removed. And as you can see, this is a 6-speed main transmission, and now it's going to be real easy to get these top bolts. I don't know how I would have done it from underneath there. It would have just been a bear. So the juice was worth the squeeze getting that floor section out of there. And then this is the actuator assembly for the 4-speed, because of course the 4-speed transmission itself is buried back underneath the bunk, and these long, pretty uncomplicated steel rods just go back and forth, and that's how it shifts. So of course you've got the low, which is all the way forward, and then low, and then it's a horseshoe pattern. So you go up and over, up and then over and then down, and that would be direct, and then forward is overdrive. Now, when I first started restoring this truck years ago, this assembly here, these notches that this guy goes into were just rounded right off, and this thing was damn near impossible to shift. So I took the old worn out assembly to a machine shop, a local machine shop called Dino's Machining, and I took it to him, and Dino actually took a look at it, and he goes, yeah, I can try and reverse engineer this. So he machined new actuator ends here and machined that slot. He had to do it a few times because he said it was actually more complicated than it looks. And he was able to rebuild it for me, and then it's been shifting like a dream ever since. So that's how that works. But not worrying about the 4-speed today. Again, it's already been rebuilt, so I am going to focus on the 6-speed. So I guess the next step is going to be, what I might do is I might leave the battery box on the truck, just in case I need to start it and move it out or move it back. So I'm going to leave that one. I only need to actually take one of the battery boxes off to get this transmission out. So I'm thinking I'll take this one off of here, the empty battery or the empty toolbox on this side. That way I can lower the transmission down on the transmission jack and then wheel it out underneath the frame there. So I guess that's next. Let's get this off of here. I thought, why not use the transmission jack to keep this thing from falling? And that worked pretty darn good. No, I know these are original, and all the purists out there are probably like, oh, you should just polish them up and keep them. But no, ever since I bought this truck, I've been wanting to replace these. So thanks again to my wonderful wife and wonderful, generous mother who chipped in on my birthday last year and got me each a new stainless steel box. So those are going to look wicked good when I get those on there. Okay, so now we have a little more room to get that transmission out of there. Oh, this is going to be a pretty straightforward job, I hope. All right, so next, I guess I got to get rid of the exhaust. So I'll just take that band off of there, band clamp, and I can get that out of there. And then I guess I got to get rid of the train horn that I mounted, and I guess I'll get my Tiger Tool U-joint puller, because I'm going to have to pull the U-joint. A bit of work to do down there. Okay, I don't think this is going to be this difficult. So I guess next up I'm going to have to drain the oil, obviously, get it out of there, make it a little bit lighter. And these are the bell housing bolts. So that's in order to get the clutch out of there, which will come later. But I was looking at it, and there's actually only 4 bolts holding the transmission to the bell housing. So there, and then 2 on the other side. And I guess they did design it not too bad. You can kind of almost get to this one. But with this clutch linkage in the way, you're only going to get a 8 or 32nd of a turn with the wrench. Flip it around, it's going to be a lot of work. But I can get at it from the top there. So what I'll do is drain the oil, and then I'll break these 4 bolts loose, and then get the jack in place, raised up and snug, and then I'll strap it just to make sure it stays on the jack. And then, yeah, I should be able to take those 4 bolts out and then slide this back. I might have to move the drive shaft a little bit out of the way so this guy can go backwards. Maybe I'll re-sling it a little farther over against the frame rail. So, because obviously the input shaft is going to have to come all the way back. It's probably, I don't know, about whatever that length is there, long. And this will have to go all the way back before it can actually set down and then wheel out of there. But yeah, these 6-speeds aren't nearly as stout as like a Eaton 13 or an Eaton 18. I guess because there's a lot less gears inside. Just looking at the shifter here, so I'm gonna have to take these bolts out of here, obviously, and lift this off in order to get the transmission out from under the truck. So I'll do that in a bit, but I noticed how it's kind of bent forward. Now, again, since I got the big hole opening and I'm gonna be setting the seat farther back, I wonder if I'm gonna actually want this bent that way so I'll be able to reach the darn thing. Because right now when I shift it and I go into overdrive, it's almost touching the dash, but I'm gonna be sitting way back there. I may not be able to reach that. So I'll rig something up, or maybe I'll work with Blake and we'll weld either a straight or we'll weld it back at an angle. And I may even go taller as well, because tall shifters are cool. Yeah, so if you're curious, it's a similar type of end on this shift rod as that, but of course it's not just moving 2 rods back and forth. It's got a little more going on in here. So obviously it tilts and moves these actuators back and forth, and that's the different slots. You got reverse, first, second, third, fourth, and then 5th is a dog leg down, and then 6 is all the way forward. So it's kind of an odd shift pattern, and I hope the Gear Center, when they rebuild this transmission, does a time lapse and shows the internals of this, because I think that's always really cool to learn how these old transmissions go together. Okay, I better get a cover plate here, because I don't want to, even though it's going to be rebuilt, I don't want to let any dirt or crap get down in there. What if I cut out a piece of wood, and then maybe I can use this gasket as a template. on. Of course, I did the easy ones first. Oh man, these are gonna be a pain. That hose is in the way. Okay, I got all the bolts out now, and the strap's tight, the jack is taking the weight off, so I guess now I need to break the transmission from the bell housing. So it's probably going to need some love taps, as the real mechanics are yelling at the screen. That's not how you do that. Yeah, I know. Oh crap. Why aren't you letting go? Hoping it just needs a little tug to get off of there. Huh. Why are you not coming off of there? All right, well, I guess I got to learn the art of the pivot and take the bell housing off with it. I can't figure out why. I just put one bolt in there just in case when I finally get this off of there that doesn't fall off, and I will tighten that up. But I can't figure out why I couldn't just take the transmission off by itself and leave the bell housing there. I don't know if it's captured or what. I mean, what would be the point of those 6 bolts and that flange face? I would have thought I could have just slid it out with the input shaft and left the bell housing where it was, but I guess not, but no big deal. I guess what I'll do now is take all these bolts off all the way around the bell housing, and then I should be able to slide the whole transmission back and set it down, hopefully. Okay, I got all the bolts out and gave it a little love tap with a hammer, and I've actually broken it away. So let's make sure that it's taking the weight. Maybe I'll get a pry bar. There it goes. Come on. Where? What are you hanging up on? Come on. Need to go up more? Maybe that's the problem. Come on. There it goes. This is going to be a bear to put back in there. You can just tell. There it goes. There's one clutch. Oh, right at the top. Okay. Come on, you old girl. Swear it'd be nice to have an extra set of hands. And when I put it back in there, maybe a little block of wood. Raise it up just a touch more, because it's right at the top of its travel. Okay, that's almost out. Come on. Yeah, a little more. There it goes. Oh, that looks good. Okay. Now, can I let her down there? Well. There she goes. All right. See, Chef, I didn't drop it on my leg. Oh, yeah, that jack was at its limit. That's for damn sure. Okay. Get you off of there. Oh. Oh. Okay. On transmission. Didn't break it or nothing. Oh, she is stout. I take back my earlier comment that this thing is lighter than a 13 or 18. Looking at it, well, hang on, let me get the camera. I'll show you what I'm looking at here. This thing is fat. Look how wide it is on each side. It's wider than the bell housing. Yeah, it's a big old whale. I guess that's why these 6-speeds lasted so long, because they were so robust. Oh, that's awesome. All right, well, off to the gear center you go. And I guess I'll put those other 5 bolts back in there so it does not come apart. Oh, no wonder. There's bolts on the inside holding it in place. Okay, so that's how you take the bell housing off. You take those 6 bolts out, and then you take all of those, and then you can separate the bell housing from the transmission. All right, well, for those of you out there that still have 6 speeds, now you know. Now you know the right way to do it. And there is the clutch that I'm going to replace, and the throw bearing that I'm going to replace, which is probably pretty vintage. All right, I'm going to wheel this thing out of here, and I'll take a closer look at what's going on up there. I'm just seeing if I can get a part number off this guy so I can get a replacement. Angle spring clutch, made in the USA, America. Yeah, it doesn't seem too bad. Now, to get this clutch off of here, what I might do, I've seen what some guys do is they get a spare input shaft, and then they mount it on a transmission jack, and that way you can have the bearing and the clutch and the clutch and this is a pressure plate, sorry, the clutch disc is in behind there, and you could have all 3 all lined up on a spline shaft, and then you just jack it up into place into the right height, and then set it forward and then bolt it to the flywheel. Now, I don't believe this is actually the flywheel, because of course this is a brake saver, so kind of a unique system that Cat used on their 3406, the first gen engines, the A blocks, some people call them, and it actually uses engine oil in kind of a torque converter setup in behind there, where there's a whole bunch of, I guess you call it blades or vanes. And it uses engine oil to resist the rotation of the engine, and it's kind of like an engine brake. It uses it's an engine retarder, I guess you'd say, not an engine brake. Engine brake is like a Jake brake. So this truck actually has both. So I think what ended up happening was this is the pre-combustion A block that somebody converted along the way and put Jakes on, just like I did on the Duke. And it had the brake saver originally, because a lot of trucks that have the brake savers, they figured, we don't need Jakes. I got a brake saver. Problem with this though is if you use it, it's functional. Probably it's that little second, it's a little short bar there underneath the trailer brake one. But as you apply it, you got to watch your temperatures, because your engine oil temperature, as it's being used as a friction device to slow the engine down, to slow the whole truck down, it can get very hot very quick. The other issue is it leaks like a son of a bitch. So that's why I've got oil everywhere. So since I'm down here, I might want to rip off the Band-Aid, I guess, and replace the seals, the O-rings in the feed and the drain, which are obviously leaking, which is why oil's everywhere underneath here. But yeah, so that's I think it's a kind of a the faceplate, and then all the vanes, it's like I say, it's like a torque converter of sorts, a reverse torque converter, and then there's the flywheel farther forward. And I can't remember, I think the starter's way up there on the flywheel, because you can see the distance. Normally this is right at the back of the engine, but you've still got about 8-10 inches there before you get to the back of the block. So this is all the brake saver setup. And as you can see, everything up here is well coated in oil. The only thing I don't know is when I start taking off these lines, am I gonna lose all my engine oil? Because I believe, yeah, that's connected to the pan, so all the oil that's sitting in the pan there is gonna wanna flow out. So maybe I'll save that for another day when I do an oil change on this truck. The oil in here is Shell Rotella just last year. There's probably only 500 miles or less, maybe 200 miles. So I don't really want to swap the oil just yet. So I might save that for another day, another episode. And then there's a starter there, completely coated in oil. So yeah, it's got the nose cone there. So the flywheel, or wherever the teeth are, that the starter Bendix engages, would be right about here. So it's about 8 or 10 inches to the back of this face. Anyway, that's kind of a little bit of background on the brake saver. And then of course, this is the throw bearing. It's a little sloppy, and you can see where the clutch brake has engaged. So of course, when you step on the clutch pedal all the way to the floor, like it is now, it actually engages this little brake disc right here, and what happens is it stops the transmission from spinning and allowing you to select the gear. So if you ever get what we call a double zero, if you're driving a twin stick truck and you maybe get too aggressive in shift one, and then you miss, and then you can't find a gear in either of them, you got to step on the clutch all the way to the floor. It engages the clutch brake, which stops the transmission from spinning and allows you to find a gear even as you're still going down the road. So that's what I use the clutch brake for. It's also used to, when the truck's idling, you got to step on it all the way to the floor, typically to find a gear, to put it in gear. But that's why when you're driving a truck, unless you want it engaged and stop the transmission from spinning, you don't step on it all the way, because you'll burn that little disc up. So you just step on the clutch halfway, or you just float shift and don't step on the clutch at all. So yeah, need a new one of those. As you can see, there's a little access hole at the bottom there, which would be like this, and you'd have a grease zerk here to actually grease this bearing. And you can see some people were very aggressive with greasing it, and it leaked out over the years. But yeah, I'll replace all of this, and we'll have a nice new clutch in this truck, which will be great. Can't wait. Now this is the adjustment. So I forget how this goes, but I think you take that out of there, and then there's a way to adjust the clutch, because you want to have the right amount of free play. But I'll get into that when I put the new clutch back in and do all of that fun stuff. But I'm glad that's out of there. I'm glad I didn't drop it and damage it, and I'm glad I didn't drop it on me and damage me. So that is cool. So yeah, I think with that, I'm gonna go celebrate and go pour a cold one for myself. The never-ending keg. Oh, that tastes good. Good way to celebrate at the end of a day. So I think what I'll do now is do a little bit of mail opening. So I had a fan send me this awesome, of course I got dirty hands, so I don't want to touch it, but sent me this awesome snowman hoodie. So thank you so much for that. I received this a while back. Oh, right. So I had a fan reach out to me and told me about one of the ways to break hucks off. And so these are specialty tools. Yeah, so he was telling me that you just use these on your, put them on your air hammer, and then you can break the hucks off from the inside, and it just snaps them off. I always like new ways to remove hucks, because not always can you drill them out, and not always can you grind them. So I'm really looking forward to trying these out. 2 twin stick. Hello, my name is Bryson Walden, and I'm 12 years old, and I've been watching you since you started your YouTube channel. Look at that. And he drew a picture of LVL. So thank you so much, Bryson. I really appreciate that. That's going up on the wall of fame. Let's spill your beer, Mark. What do we got here? Merry Christmas, Mr. Twin Sticks. Merry Christmas. Oh boy, this must have been sent a while ago. Big fan of the show, and I produce these to assist folks like yourself who work on their big rigs alone. It might come handy for your projects. Well, how cool is that? So it's a, essentially, it's a special plate that I'll mount to my floor jack, and it'll actually lift the hub up into place. Man, that is really nice. Thank you, Adam. I am very grateful for you sending this, because I've actually got to get going on doing the hubs on the Duke. So this will really save my back. That is awesome. Thank you, Adam. I'll at M809ER, M809er on YouTube. So yeah, go check out Adam, and thanks again for sending me this. Quick reminder on the American Truck Historical Society. If you enjoy following along with all my projects, you like channels like this, you like old trucks, go check out aths.org. Encourage you to become a member. They'll send you the Wheels of Time magazine. I think there's 6 issues per year. So yeah, it's definitely worth, I think it's $50 or something for an annual membership. And then it gives you notifications of the upcoming truck shows and all that good stuff. So it's a great organization. And with that, I'll bid you farewell. Thanks again for watching. Have a great week. See you next week. And don't ever forget, if you got it, the trucker brought it.